Welcome to Compai's Expat Channel. I'm Compai. I am Sosua's voice of reason. Guys, I'm going to go down memory lane and I'm going to tell you a story of how my neighbors in the Garen Condos during the last economic downturn lost their condos because they took bad advice. But guys, I can tell you what's not bad advice is staying at my business, Casa De Compai.
There's a lot of places to rent in Sosua. If you're looking for peaceful, affordable, and tranquil, look at Casa De Compai, Sosua's hidden gem. When you're ready to reserve at Casa De Compai, my contact information is in the description down below.
Thank you for watching my advertisement. My contact information will be in the description down below. So guys, back in 2009, 2010, I purchased my first condo down here. That was in the Garen Condos, great condo complex. That's where my dream of owning property in the Caribbean came to pass. I was looking at a bunch of other islands. I settled down here in Sosua for two main reasons. There were no Americans. My second language is German. This was a German town. And price point. They were the two main reasons that I bought down here because I wanted to me, it was like having a little bit of Europe in the Caribbean with the German restaurants, the German bakeries. It was totally different back then. So guys, I ended up buying, and the Garen Condos was my first purchase. Now, the little bit of history about the Garen Condos, it was originally an all-inclusive. And there were many nights I would be laying in my living room going, how in the heck was this two apartments? How are this two all-inclusive rooms? It just didn't make sense of where the other bathroom was, where the other door was to get in. How did they divide it? It wasn't until I had a guy staying across the hall, and he said, I used to stay here when it was all-inclusive. And I said, what was the layout? He goes, exactly as you see it now. Pretty big for an all-inclusive. They're more just one-bedroom condos, and I basically copied what worked in my condo in the Garen Condos I just used that same footprint in Casa De Compai when I built phase 2, which is all my one bedrooms. So we're talking the last real downturn was started in 2008, really was full blown 9, 10, 11. We started coming out of it in 2012. And it really didn't see an in 2020s when things really started kicking up. So everything remained flat. The Garen Condos started off as a retirement condo complex. There were supposed to be no kids. It was pretty much everybody buying for their retirement. Now, I was a lot younger. I was maybe 42, maybe 40 back then. So no, I had to be 16 years, I'm 58, so I was 42. When I purchased that condo. And a lot of Canadians were buying in there, and they were buying because of the builder named Ron Blissett. Ron was a good guy. I've known Ron for a while. Wonderful wife, Mona. God rest Ron's soul. The Canadian that built that property as an all-inclusive ended up losing it to Banco Santa Cruz because Banco Santa Cruz had the mortgage on it. So when the downturn hit, it was a bad period between 2008, 9, 10, real bad. 11 started coming out of it. She ended up losing that property to the bank. So the bank hired Ron Blissett for whatever deal they had. I don't know the full details of it all. But he was the one that took it from the all-inclusive to the condo complex. And he was the one that was selling it. Us original buyers, I believe I was the second wave to have the second contract. You paid 50% down, and then when titles came in, you paid the back 50%. It's a no-brainer. I got in just as he was finishing up the condos. I was able to put my deposit down in, I believe it was September. December, I took possession. During this time where people are buying, so it took about a good 2 years for everything to get bought. I remember being in the Canadian bar right around the corner with my neighbors, and my neighbors would be listening to, and this is important, would be listening to guys who've been down here for a long time. And all these old guys who were sitting in the bar stool telling their fellow Canadians, you'll never have to pay that back 50%. Don't worry about it. You'll never get titles. Titles are so screwed up down here. You got over, you beat them. Don't worry about it. You're going to get over. And I'm looking at these guys, and I'm going, I don't think that's going to happen, guys. And you haven't been here long enough. You don't know what you're talking about. It's not going to happen. I've seen this before. I say, but guys, this is bank owned. The money made in doing a project like this isn't on the front end, it's the profits on the back end. And I guarantee the bank is going to have enough pull to get those titles to come in, because it used to be one title, so they had to make it into, I believe, 58 or 48 condos in the garden condos. I think there's 48. So they had to do individual titles. Dude, that's a lot of work, especially down here 10 years ago. You know, even more, 12, 13 years ago. It was a lot of work, and it took time. And it actually took about 5 years for those titles to come in. So what happened in that time period? Well, there was a point, 2011, 2010, maybe even 12, where the Canadian dollar and the American dollar were on par, 1 for 1, right? Guys, if you know the exact date, put it in the comments down below. And if anybody knows the original name of the garden condos when it was still an all-inclusive, I think it was like Sosua Ocean One, Sosua Dream Villa, something like that. I can't remember it right now, but if you know what it was called when it was all-inclusive, please put it in the comments down below. So you have all these people who are listening to the guys in the bar stools because, God, man, they've been here for a long time. They must know what they're talking about, right? So they didn't put the Canadian dollars into the American bank account. They didn't convert it when it was close to 1 to 1. So when the titles finally came in, guys, and they came in, they were short 20% because it went back to the normal 20% difference on the Canadian dollar versus the American dollars. And a lot of these people were unprepared. They just didn't have the money. And I'm not talking 1 or 2. I'm talking there was like 6 or 8 they eventually took back. And the administration was working with them. Hey, just pay it, pay us, get something worked out. We'll give you more time. And they kept giving them time. And they just couldn't pay. They just didn't have the money. So they end up losing their condos. They end up getting repossessed by the administration. I don't know if the full ins and the outs. I don't know if the bank took it back or the people who were in charge of the condo complex took it out. But here's the deal. 6 to 8 apartments came back on the market cheap. So if you're talking to people and they're like, man, I got a killer deal on the garden condos because people lost their condos, they got them taken back, that was it. And people were getting condos in there for 50 grand. And people ask me, well, John, if it was such a good deal, why didn't you do it? Well, at this point in time, I already own Casa De Compai. I'm doing phase 1, which is, putting the pool in, the first 3 condos. I don't want to buy one of those, take my equity and put it as a second condo in the garden condos when I'm building my own condo complex, because I honestly believe to be successful down here in rentals, you got to control everything. You got to own the whole condo complex if you truly want to keep your head above water. Because like I've said in many videos before, it just takes a couple rules change and you lost your market. You lost your business. So I don't want to make a serious investment and not have that investment be in my total control. So that's why I didn't jump on it. But I'm telling you, I was thinking about it, even Club Residential, when they were unloading condos in there, when all the Germans who owned them for 30 years were moving on in life, and they unloaded them as well. So I've seen people come down here, make an investment, listen to people who they shouldn't have listened to. And I'm going to bring this home to the main point I want to make. 12 years ago, it was a person with a beer bottle and a bar chair. Now it's a person with a camera and a microphone. But they're still the same type of person as giving out bad advice. They just don't know what they're talking about. So if you're going to be down here, you really, really got to make sure you understand the market well enough to understand when somebody's giving you bad advice. Just because they tell you they know, they think they know, doesn't mean they're correct. And I've listened to my neighbors in the garden condos literally crying because they had to give up their apartment and saying the exact same words. I should have never listened to him. I should have changed the dollars, Canadian dollars, to American dollars when it was on par, when it was 1-for-1. Because if you've ever been in the garden condos, you can sit on your balcony and you can hear what's being spoken 2 balconies away, or if you're on the 3rd floor, you can hear what's being said on the ground floor. So you just sit there and be quiet, and you're forced to listen to other people's conversations, especially when it's as intense as these were, that emotion-filled, because not only did they lose their dream, they lost their money. I want everybody to be successful. And like my channel is about real estate investing and how to make money down here and how to avoid traps. That being said, thank you for watching my channel. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Like I said, Casa De Compai, my contact information will be in the description down below. And always remember, guys, keep personal private and private personal. Be safe and peace out.